Hi, what I'm going to attempt to do is remove this plug from the cylinder and take all the pins and springs out of it and reassemble it. So let's see what happens. I've taken off the circlip from the back of the plug. I've also bumped the plug 180 degrees. So that's in the correct position now, ready to be removed from the cylinder. So basically all I'm going to do is push this forwards. Now as I push it forward, it releases all the pins and allows them to come free into this area here. So just shove this forwards. I've got to try and keep it so you can see it. That feels quite tight, so all I'm going to do is put something in the back, move it very gently. What we've got in there, but I'll put my finger over the end so I can pull it all the way out. That's the plug out. Put it on the side there, and then take these little beauties out, these little pins. I don't think it matters which order they're in because it's not a working lock, it's just a case of me having a play about with it and see how it works. So that's all 5 pins out of the lock. I'm going to take it out of the vise, and in there we're going to have, I don't know if you can see, if I light it up in there, I don't know if you can see that, but we've got the recesses, and in there is 5 springs, so I'm going to get those out now. Could be quite interesting, there's a pop everywhere. I'm going to cover each end with my fingers and just tap it down, and there we go. Let's see what we've got. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5 is obviously sprung out the back. Move this, drop down in the vise. Very typical. Lift that up, and there is number 5. Right, so we've got a completely hollow cylinder, no pins, no springs in there now at all, and obviously you can see that this cylinder's been broken in half. Right, drop this back into the lock, and what we're going to have to do now is put all these springs back in. Oh, I forgot about this. Also in this plug we're going to have 5 pins. Now if I just do them one at a time, if I empty it onto there, you may see it. That's 1. Come back another there, tip it out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there's no security spools whatsoever, they're just bog standard pins, so very cheap and cheerful. That's the plug. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but if I bring it, oops, losing it all, thought that might happen. 1, 2, 3, that belongs there and there. In fact, if I move the camera it may be easier, rather than me being a complete twat. Just move it across a little bit. Let me know if you can see I've got a spring and 2 pins for each section of the lock. Right, let's go back to where we were. And what I'm going to attempt to do now is put all these back. So to start with, we can drop these back into the plug. As I say, there's no particular order, simply because it's not a lock that's being used, it's just something I can have a practice with and get used to how these things work. I certainly recommend it after watching Dark Horse and Daz and a few other people doing them. It's certainly a good way of learning. And that's the, oops, says me, and I've dropped it on the floor. Let's go and get it. There we go. Now put that fifth one in. That's all the pins back in the plug. Now I'm going to drop the springs back into the body of the lock. So go 1. Hopefully you can see these springs, I don't know. 2. Now this is quite easy with the springs, but when you start putting these little pins in, that's when I have a problem, because I wear varifocals, and to look at these it's difficult because everything's blurred, because these glasses were designed for my target shooting. Oops. So when I hold a pistol at arm's length, the rear sight's very clear, and also the target. So these are no good for close work at all. I think that's it, that's dropped in. That's all 5 pins back into the plug, or into the locks around, I should say. Now I'm going to put these pins in, and hopefully, the way I'm going to do this, because my plug follower is far too big, I'm going to use this bullet. It's a Colt 45 long case shell. It's a big old thing for a pistol, but that's an actual original bullet. It has been made safe, it's all been drilled out. It shows you just how big it is for a pistol. Now I'm going to drop this into the very last hole. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm struggling. And then I'll put my bullet in, and because of the chamfer of the bullet, it's easy to drop the others in. So now I'm going to go to number 4. I've got that. I may block the lock off here because I'm trying to see inside it as I'm doing it. That's moved. Yes. I really need some mould grip type things for this. That's 2 in. These are very fiddly, but at the end of the day it's good practice, and the more you understand about the locks, I would imagine, the easier it is to open them. So I think it's very good practice. Now you can see my bullets coming through, and because it's got that beveled edge on the lead section, it makes it easy to move it forwards. You're not struggling at all. So now I've got to put the 4th one in. Oops. Get in, you bugger. I can use that to just that's it. Now, hopefully you can see my bullet coming forwards through the plug, and that's the last pin. And I'm going to drop that in at the front. Because my fingers are very big and these plugs are so damn small, it does make it difficult trying to get things in here. So, and there we go. Right, the bullet, as you can see, has come right away through. So all those pins are held into the casing of the lock. Now, when I watched Dazzy's video, he had a wiper blade bit which he put into here, and it covered all the pins and springs, stopping them popping out, but unfortunately I don't have that, so I've used a little bit of plastic braiding. All I'm going to do is push it in over the top of the pins. As you can see, it's pushing the bullet out the back. Get it central in the middle there, and then basically I've got the plug which has got all the pins back inside it. I'm going to shove it in and just follow it through. I've lost right. Push it all the way in. Take my shell casing out, and with a pair of pliers I'm just going to pull that bit of braiding out, as you can see, and that's the plug back in to the housing of the lock. That's it. And now I need to put the circlip back on, but when I've done that, it's a case of putting the wrench, oops, and the lock's all done.